And I did get a lesson on how to turn the slides, so hopefully I can do that. So as a venture fund focusing on this space, we spend the time and follow the trends in longevity science and market. And our scientific director, Dr. Jose Navarro, also a partner, put together a lot of the data that we're going to follow. And I'm just going to start to say I come from test and measurement background, and I am really encouraged to see this biomarkers consortium, because when I first started learning about longevity, I was saying, hold on a second. You give two different labs and they get 10-year difference in measuring my age. How can that be? I mean, we have very precise measurement. This, by the way, the system my last company developed for wireless testing. And all the labs in the wireless space, we have a standard. You send the lab a standard, and if it's off by more than plus or minus 2 dB, that's a problem. And then we all got together periodically to define the standards, the test methodologies. So I think this consortium, maybe I'm projecting my own desires on it, and I don't know what your high-level goals are, but hopefully we can define what it means to measure. I know it's a much more complex space, right? But what does it mean? What does it mean to age? How do we measure it? Can we get all the labs to give us the same results? Maybe it's a multi-dimensional measurement. I don't know. But that's kind of what I would like to see. And as I'm staring at these exponential curves, right? I'm staring at them one day, and it occurred to me that there's something else exponential going on. And that exponentially, as we age, we get exponentially smarter, more resourceful, more productive, because we have this life's experience. And how much will the world change if we continue that? And because isn't it a shame that just as we get going, our lives get snatched away from us? But what would happen to the world if people like Greg, Steve Horvath, all of us just kept going exponentially, right? And the world would change quite a bit. It's even hard to imagine. And so Jose put together, actually we have 20 to 30 slides, just diving into, and we look at Nobel Prizes. Why? Because they mark true breakthroughs. And these are Nobel Prizes, these are breakthroughs in the science related to aging. And then we overlaid the Nobel Prizes with the logos of the companies in our space. So what are they working on? So we have a bigger presentation to connect the companies, what they're working on, to the science and the prizes, and to the hallmarks of aging, which is kind of interesting. It's a ton of work, and I hope to bring Jose here one of these days so he can go through it. But for the science, the science is amazing, and I have full confidence that you guys here, the scientists here, are capable of solving aging in my lifetime. The problem is the money, and the problem is regulatory barriers. I think Joe touched upon politics earlier, and I was listening and thinking, yeah, if you don't get politics right, nothing else is going to work. So we're going to have to chip away that. It's not the science that's the limiting factor here. So, investment is happening. And here we have some data, and if you click on the link in our slides that's on the bottom left, you can get to a table where every single point is listed in an Excel spreadsheet. And these are the actual investments that happen into longevity biotech, longevity medicine space. And interesting to note that in 2021, 18% of all VC money went to longevity. Now that is disproportionately high. This is a tiny, nascent industry. So I think that's important. Now this money comes primarily from wealthy people, from billionaires and just wealthy people. And you can see a lot of familiar names here. They invest in companies directly. They invest in conglomerates like Juvenescence. They invest into philanthropy, of course. We see Sam Altman, who invested in Joe's company. He actually focused a big spotlight on this industry because he's in the mainstream news. He didn't even invest that much compared to the $3 billion that went into Altos, right? But it's actually a lot for one company, but he is the figure. And now, as I'm trying to raise the fund, and the people I talk to who are real estate investors, they don't know anything about longevity, and it's always a problem to try to educate them. Now they see Sam Altman investing in longevity, and now they're interested. So we kind of have to get there. Now we see Dmitry Kaminsky, who actually did well within Silico. He was a very big investor in Silicon, and he created this deep tech group that has created this portal, and this is a database of the longevity economy, if you will. And he covers 50,000 companies, 10,000 investors, 1,000 R&D centers. And this is live. I've played with it online, and you can pretty much get charts and reports by sector, say cellular reprogramming, or you can get the reports by location. Say I want to go and see in Ukraine, what is the longevity economy there and who's working there. So it's a pretty interesting tool that I plan to spend more time with it. And this tool predicts 33 billion economy 3 years from now. Now, that's a pretty big economy, and it has a lot more than just what we're trying to do here, which is age reversal. And when we look at just, let's say, what is the available spending on the type of stuff your companies and your research develops. So we take disease treatment. Say if we can genuinely reverse someone's biological age and they don't have to get cancer, that money that they're now spending on treating a disease can instead go on proactive medicine, on preventing that disease. And then there's disease, there's alternative medicine, there's cosmeceutical, everything young people never spend money on. It's only the aging people. And we just accounted directly for $1 trillion. It's not 33, but it's a pretty good number. And so, we are a small first-time fund. We have some investments. We're now evaluating companies in our funnel. We call it a funnel. And these are just some examples. We have marked our investments with the little leaves of the logo. These are already invested. And since I only have 7 minutes and I don't know how much more I have, I'm not going to go through any of this except for one. I just want to say, 1 more minute. Okay, so I want to mention the Nautics because you see it's in 3 columns here. And it's a really cool tool. And we have Lou Hawthorne here, who is the founder and CEO and the inventors of these nanots. And it's a different type of medicine. And Lou, you can speak for yourself, but I'm just going to say one thing. It's not adding anything into the body. It's taking away bad stuff. Inflammatory particles. It can unmask cancer cells from the immune privilege that they create. So, for example, it can absorb STNF-alpha. And Lou is now trying to kick off 3 human studies with 3 major hospitals in the US, which is Mass General Hospital, Cleveland Clinic, and Mayo Clinic. 2 of them will be studying cancer and 1 sepsis, which there's no solution for sepsis now. So pretty amazing technology. It's a little nanot, 120 nanometer nanomachine that can be designed for any target that we want to take out of the body. There's just so much else interesting here, which I don't have the time for because I have maybe less than a minute now. Then there are companies that don't treat hallmarks. They are platforms and biomarkers. And I think, Ash, you are after me. I have your logo here on the lower left. Tsarlab is doing something really cool in trying to predict cancer, but I'm going to let you do that. And finally, I just want to ask this community to please consolidate the number of conferences and maybe, because I'm going nuts trying to figure out where I need to be every week, but also we need to expand this, and I had a conversation in the hallway just now, is how we need to bring the outside world in here, because here we're a resonance chamber, we're talking to each other, we all get excited, but when I go to raise my fund, I talk to people who invest in real estate, and they're not excited. And I need help changing that. So that's all I think.
about any of the ones that are happening in December. We're now trying to make it into more of a longevity week, so that the ones that are back to back can have like a little bit more coordination amongst it. But yes, that's a point well taken. Okay, questions? Yes.
Yeah. So about the trillion numbers, which we have heard for the last 10 years, everyone always sees this number doubling. I think it's probably short by 1/5, because you are focusing only on the biology of longevity. What about the determinants of health from the societal behavioral perspective that we know weight 60% of the whole, let me say, cake given us by the WHO? Is anyone interested in exploring that side of investment, or just because all of the conference are only on that side?
It's a huge economy, right? We just did simplistically say, well, let's say we don't have to spend on cancer. But you're absolutely right. I mean, and if there is this exponential function, right, where we can make the population more productive, more of us stay alive longer, and we get exponentially smarter. How much will the economy grow in that case?
Yeah, which I think answer one of the questions of the first question of the morning, right, about who to address. And it's to address us before we get the disease, right? Yeah. It's a little bigger.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it's huge. Yeah. Yes?
Thank you for the shout out on nanotics. I really appreciate it, putting us in all those places on your chart. We're having a hell of a time raising money relative to when we weren't. A couple of years ago, we had a lot of problems left, and it was much, much easier to raise money. We don't have any technical barriers now, and it's just hard as hell out there. What is your experience actually giving money or investing in companies, but also bringing in investors into your fund? What's the source of everybody freezing in place, and how long is this going to last? From your sense of it, is it getting better?
Sometimes you're in the heat of a battle, and it's frustrating, and you don't think you're getting anywhere. We're trying to watch what works and what doesn't. We talk to different people. We try to present the science to some. Others are motivated just by profit. We could tell them about nanotics and try to get them excited. So you kind of have to break through to every person and, have that feedback sensing and keep going. But I think as a group, we need to really expand who we talk to. Like Greg, you were at Freedom Fest, for example. You were the only one there talking about longevity, right? Can we get more of these companies to go to freedom-minded, conferences like that and bring in a bigger world? Please.
Just to speak on the previous comment on $1 trillion a year, by 2029, the U.S. is going to be spending half its federal budget every year on adults age 65 and older. So really $3 trillion.
Yeah, no, but we didn't even count hospitalization. So it's very conservative now because we don't need to be hospitalized if we can prevent these diseases. So it's actually a much smaller number if you don't wait for that disease. I should have mentioned that. It doesn't include hospitalization.
You want to give us your question. What do you want?
I do want something. I am tired of going to Quest at 7 a.m. I want a lab at home, a little gadget at home that I can take a little blood every day and give it a drop of blood, and it'll tell me what my treatments are doing every day. We need better resolution of biometrics, right? Biomarkers.
And then also like more things like flexible ones that you can use at home.
At-home diagnostics.
I don't want to ship anything. I just want to get a drop of blood and give it. And
I would like an at-home blood test too. Why can't we have that?
We should have that.
That's a really interesting idea.
Yeah. Who wants to work on it? Yeah. We'll team up and fund it together. How's that?
I would invest in that.
All right.
Great, you have some pre-commitment here if you work on this topic. All right. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Fiona. This is great. Thank you.